I'm Richard Knotgrass, and we're about to look at what it takes to get a home ready to sell in an estate. Even in the best of circumstances, handling the estate of a loved one can be logistically very difficult and includes issues and risks that most people never think of or even know exist until it's absolutely too late. And to compound that, you're oftentimes having to do this at a point in your life that's filled with emotion and stress and hard decisions that otherwise have to be made. I've watched my clients go through this and my own family go through these processes, and I know it isn't necessarily pleasant. There are a lot of difficult decisions to be made, but the best decision is to make sure you don't put yourself or the estate in a position where the transaction pitfall or a property casualty compounds the stress you're already going through. This doesn't have to be horrible. One thing that I've put together is a great team of elder care and probate attorneys, estate sale and total buyout services, title experts. I even have an investor who will purchase the car sitting in the garage so that you don't have to deal with the logistics of making all of those decisions. The idea here is to offload the burden of logistically liquidating an estate so that you can focus on caring for your loved one, your family, and working through the human element of this transition in your life. So in this video, I'm going to tackle two main points that really address what to do specifically with the house in an estate. So what's important to understand real estate-wise when it comes time to liquidate an estate? There are really two main upfront objectives: protect and prepare. The house is almost always the greatest asset in an estate, and sometimes it's the only asset, and we need to protect that house at all costs to make sure that we actually have something to sell when the time comes. Whether that's in the next 30 days or 6 months down the road, just depending on all of the circumstances involved. Now, to do this, we first need to make sure that the house is secured and prepared to sit vacant for a duration of time. So we need to make sure that the house actually has insurance. You would be shocked at how many times a policy renewal has lapsed and nobody was staying on top of the insurance. And we need to make sure that the house has the proper type of insurance policy depending on the occupancy status. Then we can get all of the utility bills consolidated into one payer's name and make sure that the house is being checked on regularly, and all of this is documented. Now, another thing that most people don't even know exists is something called Medicaid estate recovery. If your loved one is or is going to be receiving Medicaid assistance, Medicaid can literally take their property to help offset medical costs. People are shocked when an entire estate is evaporated to pay Medicaid after death. There are ways to protect and prevent this, and this is something that our elder care and probate attorneys can assist with. But I think that the point here is that in light of all of the risks that you could possibly be facing, we need to act very quickly in order to protect these assets, which leads me to point number two. When it does come time to sell the house, before we can properly convey clean title of that home to a new owner and close the transaction, there is oftentimes a lot of cleanup to the title that we need to do in order to make sure we actually can sell the home. It's wild how often houses have significant title issues that can either prevent the sale of the home or at least slow down the sale of the home once we get it under contract. When a house has been in a family for decades, a lot of things could have happened over that duration of time. I've seen multiple seemingly unfathomable issues with properties, from cases where the mortgage has been paid off for 20 years but the lien was never released at the courthouse, or properties that are still solely in the name of a person who died 15 years ago, but the title was never transferred to the surviving spouse, or even worse, the non-married partner. Or in some of the worst case scenarios, a reverse mortgage or a HELOC loan was taken out on the home, and unbeknownst to the adult children, all of a sudden the house, which had been in the family for decades, is literally facing foreclosure if it isn't discovered in time. Like I always say, finding a buyer for a property is the easy part. It's making the deal work that's often tricky and full of risk. Especially in the case of an estate, it is critical that you protect and prepare as best you can. If you need help now, or if you know you'll need help with this in the near future, let's talk now about how my team and I can alleviate some of this stress and take some of these burdens off of your shoulders and make sure we're serving the estate as best we can. As always, I'm here to help. Call, text, or email me anytime.